Mocha is the more powerful way of motion tracking and rotoscoping. It's incredibly powerful. We're going to take it slow, but once you get the hang of it, you can do some very impressive motion design and visual effects. So I'm going to drag phone blue log onto my new comp. And what's great about Mocha is rather than animating a mask or rotoscoping, it's very smart and it follows the information of what's moving better than any of the other stuff in After Effects. When you move the playhead like this, that's called scrubbing. When you're watching the footage not in real speed. So my hand comes up once and then goes away. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait for the hand to be fully on here, roughly about the 1 second, 3 frame mark. And we're going to roto in Mocha my hand that covers the phone. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell Mocha, ignore this hand. So when it pops up, it doesn't mess with corner pinning the phone. So we're going to replace the screen here. I put a green motion tracker on it. And, you know, this is incredibly useful to know. You see it in commercials, you see it in movies. And it's not just for doing, you know, phone replacement. But once I show you the basics, you're going to come up with some pretty interesting things to do with it later on in your career. So I started off that foundation and rotoscoping, like using the roto brush and showing you motion tracking so that you could figure out that and then learn the more complex method, which is Mocha. But like I said, Mocha is far more powerful. We're going to set a mask around my hand, tell it to ignore my hand, and then set a mask for the phone. So, as always, whenever you're doing any rotoscoping or tracking, you want to be at full res, and you want a frame that's in good focus. We're masking out my hand, so I got to start with my hand in the frame when it's nice and crisp. Like I said, roughly 1 second, 4 frames. This was shot with Fuji log, so I'm going to quickly throw Lumetri color on there. And under basic correction, go to browse. And the LUT I already put with everything else. We're using the same LUT. There we go. I'm going to fix the white balance a little bit. I'll up the saturation a little. And I'll sharpen it 30. Okay, I'm happy with that. It's still a little orange overcast. That's a little better. All right. So I got my shot set up. I've got the color correction on. I'm going to hit save because Adobe crashes a lot. And then I'm going to grab my Mocha AE effect from the effects panel, drop it on my footage, and click the Mocha button right here. Now remember, this is why I had you all register your Mocha software so that you'd be able to do this part of the lecture. And this right here, Particle Illusion, it's a very powerful free particle system. If anyone downloads it, I'll give you a little bit of pointers on how to use it, but it's free and I suggest you get it because you can do some pretty neat things with it. Same company as Mocha. So I'm going to click Start. So I'm in Mocha, which is a free plugin in After Effects. And if you ever get the paid version, there's far more bells and whistles that come with it that are just beyond impressive. But you can get by with the free one for most things. All right, so like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to roto out this hand so that we can tell Mocha to ignore it once we start tracking the phone to replace the screen. We don't need to do the full hand, just the part that's covering the screen, okay? So for this, we're going to be using the X spline tool right here next to the magnifying glass. I click once. Now I've got the spline tool. To use the spline tool, you just click and move. I don't need to be super perfect for this because we're just setting up what to ignore. But I'm not going to be too sloppy because we are going to need to have a tight roto scope of the hand out later on. The more points you use, the more points you got to track. So you want to use the least amount of spline points possible. I'll do that. And then when you're done and you're ready to close your shape, you right click. So you click once to lay down each point and you move it. And then when you want to close your shape, right click. Now my shape is closed. Exactly. It is the pen tool, but it works off of rotoscoping and motion tracking. So it's like the pen tool with superpowers. Remember, the more points you put, the more points you got to juggle when you're rotoscoping. With my spline shape selected, if I right click and choose selection, select all in spline, it selects all my points. These blue handles, the further I drag away from the path, the harder the edges are. The closer I drag in, the more rounded my edges become. So that's how you get curves. By dragging inwards, you get curves. Dragging outwards, you get crisper, harsher angles. Remember, I right-clicked, selection, select all in spline. Rotoscoping and tracking in Mocha is like using a scalpel, whereas doing it in After Effects, it's more like using a broadsword. Now, you can click on one point and move it around however you need to, or you can click and drag multiple points and move them by clicking the red line, or you could use the transform effect for scaling and rotating, should you need to. Those are some ways you can edit your points if your track goes off. Okay, so I'm going to select this and double click to name it. I'm going to call it hand. And then hit enter. This is the layers panel. This gear clicked on that layer says we're going to be tracking this layer. You track one layer at a time. Everyone ready for the next part? Oops, sorry, that's what happens when you scrub. This green arrow is my keyframe of what I just drew. So I scrubbed with my mouse wheel by accident. Didn't mean to do that. Okay, so I've got my spline layer selected, and down here in Essentials, so I've got my layer selected, the gear is on, and I'm in my Essentials down here. I do not need to track perspective. So I'm going to backtrack because we're not at the beginning. So I'm going to click backwards, and if it starts going off in its track, I click the stop button. And see, it's off here. Whenever I adjust my splines, it's going to create a new keyframe. And when you've got a blur, it's usually better be on the inside of the blur than the outside of the blur, because you could always adjust that later on in After Effects. It's better to have something crisp to work off of. Let's take a look at that. This point is off right there. So I'm going to keep tracking backwards until my hand is off the screen. Again, you can see how you want the fewest amount points possible so you have less to have to work with and keep track of as your shape moves. And I'm going to keep tracking backwards. Okay, that's good. I'm going to stop because my hand is completely off. Now I'm going to track forwards. That's pretty good. So there's track forward, that's track backward. Go track forward a little bit more in a second. And I'm over one of the spline points when I've got multiple ones selected. Okay, I'm happy with that. So when you're happy with your track, I'm going to go File, Save. Now that we're done tracking that, I can click off the gear from my hand layer because it's already been tracked. Below my layers, got layer properties. I'm going to click back on the layer for the hand. And then in blend mode, I'm going to choose subtract. And what we're telling the rotoscoping is subtract this, ignore it, so that when we track the phone and this comes up, it's not going to mess up with the track. It's going to completely ignore that whole section. So I'm going to hit save again. Now I can exit and save my After Effects file. So I've still got my clip selected. I click Mocha again to go back in. There's our hand. The gear is off because we're done tracking it. And in the layer properties, we chose subtract, set the tracking is ignoring this. So we get a cleaner track on the phone. Now, I'm going to scrub back in my playhead. The phone is basically straight on to the camera and there's nothing covering it. This is a good start point. So I'm going to go back to my X-spline tool. I'm going to click once. Click again. I'm just getting the corners where the screen ends. Oops. I'm going to right click. I forgot to right click on the last one. So if I right click here, selection, select all in spline, I can make the curves a little bit less to match the bevel of the phone. Now I can line it up more perfectly for the most accurate track possible. Any questions about that part? Okay, I'm going to name this one phone. Okay, so here's what I want everyone to take away from this. This is an example of planar tracking, P-L-A-N-A-R. This phone screen is a plane. Even though it's three-dimensional, it's basically a flat surface that once we track it, we'll be able to track the perspective as it changes as well. That's the power of planar tracking with Mocha. Okay, so this flat surface is actually a plane that will be twisting in 3D space as the phone moves. I'm going to put the hand under the phone. It's already there. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm going to put the phone under the hand because the hand goes over the phone. That's the stacking order of the shot. The hand covers the phone. So put the phone layer below it. The gear is on. When I go back to my essentials, I'm going to click on perspective right here because when the phone starts tilting from side to side, we need to track that perspective. Any questions so far? Okay, this next part is new. Right up here at Essentials, our workspace, we're going to switch it to Classic for a second. We're not going to be here long. We're just changing a few things. You're going to see there's a ton more new tools in Classic than Essential. That's why they start you off on Essential. It's cleaner and easier to learn. This button right here next to the letter A, Show Layer Mats. I'm going to click that on. There it is off. There it is on. We want to be able to see the area that we're going to be tracking. And I chose selected mats from the dropdown. And I only have the phone. If I did all, we'd see the hand and the phone, but I only want to see the phone as we're tracking it. So I only chose the layer we had selected. Any questions on that? Okay, no questions. I'm now going to go back to my Essentials workspace. That's the only change I had to do, was to put this mat on so I could see my track. What this mat is saying, it's saying focus on this area and only this area. That's what makes Mocha so powerful. It's like working with the scalpel instead of a broadsword. Now I'm going to click on this button right here, the blue S, Show Planar Surface. And it's right here. This blue box that just appeared, that's the planar surface. This part's critical. The blue box is the size of what we are replacing. So if I'm only going to fill up to this edge, my blue box has to be that size. You can be a little bit over. It's always better to be a little bit over than a little bit under. If it's under, you'll see those green edges. If it's a little over, that's fine. No one's going to notice. I'm going to go a little bit past it. Just like that. Any questions on that step? Remember, the blue area is the size of what you're going to be replacing. So the screen that we're going to be putting in here is going to be the size of this blue box. And again, you want to go a little bit bigger rather than a little bit smaller, because you don't want that green showing around the edges. Any questions? Okie doke. Next, I'm going to click on this pink grid. And that is going to be the Show Planar Grid. And this is what you use to match the perspective of the phone. When I move my blue box, you see the grid perspective change. So I keep adjusting these points until it looks like it's perfectly lined up with the surface of this phone, which it's pretty much on because I shot this straight on as I could. And once the phone starts twisting, because we clicked on perspective, you'll see this pink grid start moving with it. And that's how you can tell if your track is on or not. So again, we turned off the gear for the hand because we're done tracking that. The gear is on for the phone. The gear says what layer you want to track. We're going to track forward because we're at the beginning. So I click here to track forward. I'm going to get ready to hit the stop button in case my track goes off. It's ignoring the hand. See that? It's working perfectly so far. Oh, this corner pin came off a little bit. This one's off a little bit there. So phone select again. I'm going to track forward some more. Then track forward some more again. That's what I had to be moving. That right there. Two. I really shouldn't have been moving that. I just realized so. I'm going to keep pressing forward. This is the important part when the phone starts twisting. And remember, I did not want to move that blue grid. I did that by accident, but look, my perspective is still spot on. It's perfectly tracking the phone at this point. And then we're done. I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to exit. And I'm going to save my After Effects. Any questions on any of that? Okay, no questions. I'm going to keep moving forward. With Mocha selected, I'm going to twirl down Tracking Data. We'll click on Create Track Data. This pop-up window says what we want. I want the phone. The gear is by the phone saying that layer is selected. And I click OK. I'm going to choose Corner Pin Support Motion Blur from this dropdown. I'm going to add an image into this in a second. This corner pin right here, that's the size of the image we're going to need to replace. I'm going to select my Mocha effect again. Hit Control R for the rulers. I'm going to set up some quick guides. That's roughly the size of what we're going to do to replace it. So I'm going to use a shape layer. And I'm going to twirl down here. Size 449 by 769. I go new composition and I type that in 449 769. Should roughly be about what we need. And I'll make this 15 seconds because I don't know how long the clip is. Now I need something to put in there. And I'm going to call this phone screen replace. Hit enter. This old clip of me in there. Not that one. That one. Line it up so it makes sense. Save. I can delete that layer. I'm going to hit Control: to hide my guides. Turn this back on so I can see it. Select the layer, go back to my effects. And where's my phone replace? Right here. I'm going to hide that. Turn off the sound, turn off this sound. So that's in my timeline. Layer export to, do screen replace, exit mask, and I'm going to click the apply export button at this point now. So we did create track data, chose the phone, measured the size with the shape layer, chose corner pin support motion blur, and here's where we have our reduced size to replace the screen with. So I click apply export. I wait a moment for it to refresh. You can see the green line along my timeline. What's going to happen if I put that over there? Okay. Let me see something. I'm going to hit A for anchor point. I did not set my anchor point. That's fine. You can see that was where my corner was off at the beginning, which we fixed later on. Now, this is the part where it's all on. See? From here on, it's perfect. Even as the phone twists, it twists the new screen with it. That's a perfect track right there. Any questions on that? Okay, no questions. We're going to need another copy of this for the hand that we're going to roto out. So I'm going to duplicate this clip, Command D, put it on top. And under Mocha, I'm going to choose matte. I'm going to do apply matte. I'm going to use hand. And there's my hand covering that up. I'll try inverting the mask. Let me put Mocha above Lumetri. Now that's working a little better. And like I said, this is because we didn't perfectly key it out. But I'm going to show you a little cheat here. If I click Create AE Masks, they're now After Effects masks. So if I hit M for mask here, here's my hand. I could, if I want, expand my mask a little bit. I'm going to click here to hide the mask. And I could also, if I want, feather the mask a little bit. Like such. Another thing I can do, since now we have this green spill, I could use Spill Suppressor. And we're going to choose the green of the phone. Up there. And you can see it took some of the green out of the hand. Now, normally I'd go for a perfect key there, but I'm just showing you, we just duplicated this clip, and to apply the matte, we twirl down matte and shows apply matte, and then I believe we had to invert the mask to see the hand again. Any questions on any of that? I'm going to hit save. And like I said, I did it fast to teach you the technique. If I were doing it for a professional job, I definitely put more time and effort into it and get it perfect. All right. We might, yeah, we're going to wrap up Mocha tonight. All right, good job. So here's the last part I want to show you. We're going to go back to the chip blue log clip. I'm going to get rid of this stuff. I'm going to keep my color correction, but get rid of the Roto brush. And here we are. Now, when I shot all this stuff, I shot it in a particular way for you to work off of. You'll notice the chip starts front facing again, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Mocha. I'm going to throw the Mocha effect on the chip and hit the Mocha button. Now, even though this is a potato chip, it's a flat object, which means it's a plane, which means we can planar track it. You can planar track stop signs, street signs, billboards, sides of vehicles, someone's cheek. Are you starting to understand where I'm going with this? Like, once you get a straight on shot and you planar track it, even when the person or object moves or the camera's moving, it'll capture the perspective and keep your image locked in there. A butterfly wing is an example of something you could planar track. Just as long as you get it still, you track it and get the perspective, the skew, all these, you'll be good. Any questions on that? No? Okay. So I've got my X-spline. I'm just going to draw a quick plane on this potato chip. And remember your last point, right click to close it. Oops. Undo. Okay, there we go. There is my starter plane. Just 4 points. I click on the blue S. And that's fine because I'm just using this for a planar track. I'm going to want the perspective on. So now I'm getting all the axes. When something moves quickly, the motion blur can sometimes mess up your track. So you got to keep an eye on that. I'm going to track forward since we're at the beginning. And I'm going to stop because I forgot something. I forgot to use my surface. All right, now we're good. Once I start twisting the potato chip, I'm going to keep my eye on that pink grid. It's looking pretty good. That's tracking it perfectly. Can everyone see how the pink grid is capturing the perspective and the skew of the chip? Anything that's flat or shot straight on, you can planar track. It messed up there. where there was a bit of the motion. Move this. Select all on the spline. Like I said, it was the blur that messed it up. Perspective still on. I'm going to track again. Good. And there's the end of it. So I'm going to save. I'm going to name this. I'll call it plane track or planar track. Planar track chip. Click off the gear. And I'm going to turn off the eyeball for that layer. Now turn that off. The pink grid. Now, got this. And see something? So I've got my X spline. I'm going to make a new spline layer. I'm going to perfectly go around this chip. I'm going to avoid my thumb because that might mess up my track and it'll just make this part of the lecture a little bit longer anyway. Right click, there's my last point. I'm going to name this. Enter. Save. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what's different. So remember, we drew the chip straight on, and we already did a planar track of the chip as it rotated and twisted in space. Right down here, link to track, planar chip track. It's going to take the data from the planar chip and apply it to our track. Since the chip shape is consistent in 3D space, look what happens. As the planar tracking's on, it's keeping the perspective of the chip. That part's where it went off a little bit. But again, you see how the part that's on stays on. So if I were doing this professionally, I would have fixed up that part. But you get the idea. We took the data from this planar track and used it to drive the chip that we rotoed out on a straight on shot. So if I go save, then exit, and I can go matte, apply matte. There's our chip tracked out. And if I wanted to use that tracking data of the plane to put something on the chip, I would use the tracking data, create, choose that, hit OK, and then put whatever I wanted to fit right there. Any questions on planar tracking or using Mocha? Okay, so I'm going to end the lecture there. Let me double check. Yes, I'm recording it. Test 1, test 2. Good. I don't have to go through that again. Would everybody want no lecture Tuesday of next week with extended lab time, 6 to 8:30 lab time? That's going to help people out if you can be there and have stuff ready, have ideas, have art so that I can help you out to the fullest. Okay, great. All right. I'll put you all on my dance card. Okay, so does anyone have anything to show me tonight or any questions? $10 gigs just from that lecture. No one has anything at the moment? Okay, so I'm going to unplug this display, turn that off from the projector. All right, so I'm going to work on a little bit of green screen removal in the spirit of, so that's my mic, so I can't unplug that. I'm gonna have to unplug my mouse. It's ironic that the week we're doing post-production, I've got a massive post-production project that I'm working on. All right. Go. That external drive was humming so loud against the desk. It's picking up on the microphone. Okay. So what I did here, this was a science video. So I had a planar behind them, a whole bunch of translucent stuff and a ton of green, plus a green screen wall. So what I had to do was key out the wall. Let me copy that effect. I turned the key off on this second layer. And used the above layers in alpha matte. And this layer, I masked out the stuff that's not moving just to bring it back in. I had to, you'll notice this mask over here at the corner. I had to mask this book as it's moving because they open it and there's a lot of green stuff in the book. So this is an example of why I say you want to avoid post-production whenever possible. But this shoot, it was inevitable because of the complexity of it. So that's what it looks like with the new background behind it. And I came up with 3 different background perspectives to match the motion of the cameras. I'm going to shy that layer. I don't need it. This is the one with the mask. So I duplicate this, paste my green screen on it, use the above layer. Alpha matte, let me set that to none. Now let's try it. Why am I still seeing the green? Oh, because I didn't move playhead. Let's try that. Now it's a matter of problem solving. Okay, so when I hide that, okay, wait a second. I think I got it. I don't know why that one was asking for an alpha inverted mat, but whatever. There's that shot. Okay, that's working. I have to do this to 25 clips. Oh, wait a second. I think I see what it is. That layer is what was in the way. That must be when I shied it, that messed up my alpha mat. See, it's that little bit of problem solving. That's what it was. Okay, well, at least I figured it out. Now it's working the way it should be. Yep. And I've got a perfect clean key. Don't forget whatever layer you have selected or panel is what you're going to duplicate. And to make this post-production even more fun, this whole thing is in Armenian. So the party never stops. So again, I only have the green screen on the top layer. I turn it off on the bottom. I use the alpha from the layer above. And the bottom layer has my masking of the things I wanted to keep. Like such. That's why I have perfect translucency. And the green that was on this table was removed from the green screen. That's why I had to have that third layer and mask it. And you can see if I hide this layer here, all the greens are going to disappear as if they were never there. But I needed that to show the different acids they were using in their tests. And you see there's the different angle for the background. There's another one. There's a third angle as well. Get to in a second. 7. Rendering out this whole clip took over an hour because of all the green screen removal. And I'm going back in and I'm cleaning it up. And again, the third layer has the green masked out. There's my mask. And you'll notice I've kept the entire shape of the beakers with my key. So it was a lot of post-production work. This is the third camera angle. And also on my pre-comped layers, I thought I had a despill, but I don't, so I didn't need it. Okay. Double check that. Actually, yeah, I got to paste these effects on the other layers once I get completely done this section. But I'm sticking with one effect at a time so I don't have to keep going back and forth as I copy and paste. Yes. For your project? Um, I've had to rig characters, but never to dance around. You're going to find a lot of the stuff you've got to do is, get it done quick. So you got to be able to just literally get it done quick. Like when I'm done fixing these last 9, I'll show you the intro I did for this. The intro you're going to see I did in 2 hours. So I'll show you what I can do in 2 hours when I've got all this other stuff to do. Because it's like, not only did I have to color correct the video footage, I had to clean the audio, edit the video down, like, the whole kit and caboodle. That's what video production's all about. It's if you just work a camera and you don't light, that's videography. If you light and shoot, that's a bit more video production. But video production is lighting, shooting, editing, cleaning the audio, and doing motion and animation. So, mhm. Okay. The James Bond movie, no. Yeah, and he shoots at the camera. Okay, that I've seen. Okay, yeah. So it'd be like, wow. So you're gonna need partial rotation. That's where it gets complex. Like you would need to be using something like Duick to make it look like partial rotation, or you could try and cheat it. Um, I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. Duick is incredibly complex. Like I had one student and only one student ever use it, and she started her project. The second was given out, and she went down to the wire. It took her 8 weeks to animate 4 seconds with Duick. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah. Yep, I hear you on that one. Let me see if I can send you something real quick. Okay, I think I sent this at the beginning of the semester, but where's share? Copy link. I have an unlisted playlist of 49 videos for anyone who ever wants to learn Duic. And this is everything: character rotation, rigging up controllers. So I'm going to send this out now. It's incredibly time consuming to make a character in Duic. So I wouldn't sleep on it if I were you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, the other student, she has what, like 6 weeks on you? Like, she started the second the assignment was given out, and she worked nonstop on it. So I'm just warning you. There's the Do It playlist. It's very, very involved. It took me days working nonstop, 8 hours a day to rig a character completely from start to finish. That's a full character. She didn't do a full character. She just did a dog. She only moved the legs and the tail. So you'll see what goes into character rotation in that playlist I just sent you. So and there's ways you could try and cheat it. Almost done here. Oh wait, now I've got to go back and copy this effect because I copied the playlist. So I'll show you that in a second. Four more left. Hello. One second. Okay, so there's some people in here, and they're just going over some electrical stuff at the moment. That's what you'll be hearing in the background. It's done this, and then I'll show you a little fast way of cheating some rotation. Okay, so just like that, in 10 minutes, I fixed 25 clips. 1 second. Now I was going to say, show you this and then I'll do the rotate. These effects I have on the pre-comp because if I put them on the video clip, it would mess up the key. See it change it a little bit there. Huh, that's weird. Take a look at that in a second. But first I'll show you the character rotation cheat. Like for rotating things, a cheat in general. So my method, I think it's faster, like I said, to just copy effects once. So everything that had to be inside the pre-comp, I went through and I did. And then everything that's outside the pre-comp, I went through and I copied and I pasted. Just so I could do it all at once. That was 44 gigs I just did in 15 minutes. I'm going to check this drive. Good. I can plug my mouse in and show you that rotate. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, here we go. We're going to pretend this is my torso, okay? Now, if you have a solid shape with nothing on it, you're not really going to tell it's rotating. Got it? So, watch this. Let's pretend your person has shirt on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my buttons on another layer just for a little bit more control. I'm going to hold down Command and double click my anchor tool so I snap it there. And I'm going to add a repeater to it. Save myself some time. Let's try 6. And then with my repeater, I'm going to change the position to 0 so they're all on top of each other. Now, if I move down like this, I've got buttons. Okay? You got it? Okay, perfect. I'm going to parent my buttons to the stripe like that. And I'm going to parent the This is going to stay the same. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a null because remember, nulls are invisible. I'll call it body rotation. Well, first I should spell it right. There we go. If I take my button stripe and I parent it to the null, so now the buttons are parented to the stripe is parented to the null. Got it? So look what happens. Now it looks like the character's turning. Got it? And let me see if I can do something. Okay, I can't zero this out, but my zero, meaning the middle, is 960 by 540. So watch this. Let's push this up a notch. So if I turn this into one layer, let's see what happens if okay, my parenting broke. So if I move my pre-comp to there, now it's working. Okay, here's why I pre-composed it. I'm going to duplicate my torso, put it above, and call it matte. Now, if the layer below I set as an alpha matte, the buttons, see how now it looks like they're turning with the body? That's how you get the rotation look. Okay? So you got to do something like that. Come up with ways to fill in your character and then parent it to a null and use a shape to mat it out so it looks like it's rotating. And another thing we could do is what LabTime is all about. Yes, exactly. It's similar to that, using the alpha mat to keep everything inside. Okay, let's pretend my character is green. And I'll call this head. Boom, there's my head. Okay, now I'm going to deselect. Zoom in a bit. Duplicate that. Those will be my eyes. And deselect that. Let's draw a little bit of a mouth. That, call that. These three I'll pre-compose. Call it base features. Move into a new comp. Now, this pre-comp, I'm going to parent to the body rotation. And I'm going to duplicate my head, put it above, and set my facial features as an alpha matte. So now, we got that happening. The null is making it look like things are rotating. The alpha mattes are keeping them inside the shape to make it look like they're going past what the eye is seeing, to fake some perspective in 3D. See that? That help you out a little bit? Okay. Okay. 1 second. Okay, no one can see my laptop now, correct? Okay, great. Now, this After Effects project you sent, is this After Effects art or is it Illustrator art? I'm going to need the Illustrator art as well. Oh, but you can't. Yeah, you can't send me the. Can't update. Let's try this 1 second. Boy. Go back to sharing. Let's see what happens when I open your project. Okay. All right, now you can see my screen again. Okay, now you see how this is a far more complex shape? So turning this is going to be impossible. You would need 3D software or you'd have to draw out the rotation. Okay. What I would do then is say it's 5 poses to the turn. Let's pretend that's what you're doing, right? What you can do is you can move things in the turn, like you could have this arm rotated a little bit, and then at the next rotation, have it up a little bit more. So as the character's turning, the body parts are still moving. Do you know what I mean? So it's like on turn 3, the arm is here. And then when you see turn 4, the arm's up a little higher. You know what I mean? Yeah, that way it'll hide some of that and also move a little bit smoother. Okay, great. So yeah, if you took the time to draw all that out, good. And you remember my little intro to the walk cycle where it's like front leg out, back arm. Hmm. Okay. Another thing you could try is it's tough to have the character moving properly. But if you've got a loop, um, what you could do, let me try and mock this up real quick. You know what? I'll just use what I got in front of me. Okay. $1920 is one screen width. Okay. If I do 1920 x 3 times 3 and hit enter, the screen is now 3 times wide. Got it? Okay. So I could try. No, you know what? I don't need to do that step. Because if he's standing in place, I'll show you 1 second. Okay, so Okay, so it's 1920 right there. And your skeleton is right here. Okay, see that? Put a solid behind it just so we can see what's going on. I'll make it blue. Sure, why not? So there's your skeleton, and there's a blue background. Got it? Okay, so if the right arm is back, the left leg is forward. That. Got it? Right, left. And then that's got to be forward. That's going to be backwards. All right. So I'm going to hit U. And so it's arm, thigh, arm. Where's the other thigh? Why didn't that pop up when I hit U? Okay. So let's say we go 10 frames. We'll go 12 frames. Add in these. So the right arm was back. Now the right arm is going to be forward. The left arm is going to be back because it was forward. The right thigh was back, so it's going to be forward. The left thigh was forward, so it's going to be back. Okay. Oops. Then we copy our first frames. Okay, so I can only do it one at a time. So I go copy, paste. I'm not moving my playhead. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. And let's say let's try it with multiple layers. Copy. We'll go a few frames. 2. I'll paste. Nope. Great. I got to do it one layer at a time. Paste. Paste. Copy, paste. Copy, paste. All right, so let's see what that looks like with 2 frames. Not bad. So I'm going to go 2 frames past there. Now I've got more to copy, so I can go paste. Copy, paste. Paste. Copy, paste. Okay. So watch this. Come on. Which. Okay, so it's 2 is the one I need to have. There we go. Okay, check this out. Hit P for position. See how that looks based upon the speed of the walk. Forgot to click my stopwatch. See how we cheated that? So we could say right here, that's 2 minutes, 8 seconds. Hey, I can get rid of all these keyframes because he's already stopped. See what I did? I faked that walk cycle. Oh, wait, let me hit undo. Then I'm going to set all these to 0. That comes to a stop. See that? I set the rotation to 0. So I figured out where I want him to stop moving by moving the comp. Boom. And then there's an extra keyframe by accident. I did that by accident at the beginning. Like that. So I would really nail your walk cycle, like moving the limbs and the calves, but do what I did. Do a couple loops, move the comp he's in, position, and then when you see where you want it to stop, set your rotations to 0 on that point, and it'll stop into place. Does that help you out? Okay, great. 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. Anyone else have anything for me tonight? And like I said, look at last week's lecture or the week before where I was talking about moving the calves, moving the forearms, squash and stretch on the down, squash on the down, stretch on the up for the walk. If no one else has anything, I'll stop at 7:40. And like I said, don't forget the squash and stretch and follow through an overlapping action with your limbs. I just did this very quick to teach you how to do the walk cycle and have it come to a stop and make it look like the character's moving by animating the pre-comp it was in. A few weeks ago, I have a lecture on, doing a more advanced walk cycle, so you could look at that for reference. No problem. All right, we'll be ending it there for tonight. Have a great weekend, everybody. If you have any questions, reach out to me. And I sent out a couple of links today. It was from when Shane wanted me to re-show what I did last night. I basically already did it earlier in the semester, so I sent out the links based upon what I'd covered last night in lab. All right, well, have a great weekend, and I'll see everybody Tuesday. Yep, no problem at all.